Okay, what are you saying, people, and welcome back to another weekly analysis. Now on the screen are the 10 pairs we'll be analyzing today, but before we get into that, make sure to subscribe to the channel and also leave a like on the video if you're feeling generous. If you haven't already, make sure you follow me on my Instagram account. I'll leave the handle there, as we post a lot of different trading setups there, different tips and tricks, and just general advice for you to become a better trader. And also follow me on my Telegram channel. I'll leave a link to that in the description. But like I said, we've got another weekly analysis, so let me stop talking and let's get into the video. First up, we've got Euro USD. Okay, so for Euro USD on the daily time frame, you can see we're starting to look very bearish now. The price action we had this week is very strong to the downside here. We saw a break of this key level here in the market. And I was saying this key level in the market, as long as we hold this level, we'll probably expect the trend to continue. But you can see we've actually broken through that level, so we're looking very bearish now. And I probably expect that that move to the downside to continue to go and test this 1.2 level here. Again, a really strong area of prior resistance there again. So I do expect that movement to continue us to the downside for Euro USD. And you can see we barely have any wick to the downside there with this current candle that closed on Friday. So could be seeing that momentum take us to the downside quite early on when the market opens potentially, or we could see maybe a movement to the upside to go and retest this area of prior support to resistance, and then see the market continues to the downside. So I do expect Euro USD to continue to the downside unless we start to get back above this level, and then probably have a bit more of a false breakout at that point. But we're looking very bearish here, and I do expect that momentum to continue to 1.2. And if you check on the weekly time frame as well, you can see the price action we're getting on the weekly is very bearish as well. Big push to the upside, and it looks like it could be in for another big push back down. And again, on the weekly time frame, we had this prior resistance all across here around 1.19. Didn't get a retest of that area, just shot to the upside, so it could be seeing a retest of that area from a weekly point of view. So from weekly and daily time frame, we are looking bearish and could be seeing a move back down as price retraces some of the bullish movement that we saw in the past few weeks there. So again, I probably expect Euro USD to continue to the downside as long as we stay below this level here in the market. And if you get a retest of that, could see the market give us a big move to the downside, probably to 1.2 and probably even further to 1.19. So this general area here is probably where the market could find some strong support in order to continue back to the upside. But the momentum looks very bearish now, and I do expect price to trickle down to the downside for Euro USD. Next, we're going to take a look at USD JPY. Okay, so for USD JPY this week, not too much happened in terms of big movements to the upside or to the downside. Price kind of stuck, consolidating a little bit. We are testing this trend line that I've been speaking about for a long time now. Again, got an initial test there, second there, third, fourth, and we had our fifth test. And we did see a bit of an engulfing candle as well there on the daily. So we are looking a little bit bearish and could potentially see another move lower to USD JPY. But then if you take a look at the price action we're getting on the 4 hourly, it looks like price is failing to push lower. Again, we've been seeing some really strong bearish movement to the downside from that trend line here. And you can see every time we have that push, we're failing to break this level here around 103.6. So a really strong level of support, and price is kind of just stuck between that trend line and that support there on the 4 hourly time frame. So if we get a break of this support, I'll probably see price continue to the downside as long as we hold it as resistance. Then I'll probably see price continue to the downside right back to the lows here potentially, maybe even a lower low, because again we're still in this bearish trend here. But if you do see a break of this trend line here in the market, you could potentially see a bigger movement to the upside for USD JPY. I'll probably start to look a little bit more bullish at that point. Again, USD JPY doesn't move quite that well. You can see very choppy price action because USD and JPY are quite similar in strength. So we could see a break of this trend line, and if we do, could probably see a movement back to this previous swing high here around 105.5. Very strong level in the market, sent us right back down after that strong move back to the upside. So again, if we break that trend line, I'll probably see price come to test this level, break above that, and then we'll probably look very bullish at that point and probably start to see a bullish trend in the market. But currently we're still bearish, and if price breaks through that level on the 4 hourly time frame, then we'll probably see price continue back to the lows, break above that trend line. We can see a longer push to the upside, maybe to go and test the highs up there. And next we've got USD CAD. Okay, so if we use the CAD on the daily time frame, we saw another push to the downside this week, back into the lows, but we did fail to break through it, and we're starting to see some rejection from this level. As you can see on the Friday time frame, we saw a big push to the upside there, rejecting the prior low there. So price is struggling to make those lower lows now. So potentially could be having a bit of a double bottom there on the Friday chart. You can see on the daily with that engulfing candle. So it could see that momentum continue us to the upside. We do have this important level here that we need to get above. See it a little bit better on the Friday chart. This is a prior swing high, so if you can get above that level, we'll start to look a lot bullish, well, very bullish at that point for USD CAD, and probably expect price to continue to the upside. But again, as long as price stays below that, potentially could see that momentum continue to the upside, but we could get rejected and see another move back to the downside for this pair, and probably see another test of the lows, or maybe a lower low if that downtrend wants to continue. If you do get above this level, you could probably see that momentum continue us to the upside, probably see a bit more of a counter trend move to the upside and retrace some of this bearish movement we've seen for USD CAD for the past few weeks and couple of months as well. And we do have this key level at 1.3 weekly and daily level. As you can see, really nice support there. Jump to the weekly chart, really nice support there as well on the weekly chart. So could be seeing a retest of that area, that 1.3 as support, now time resistance, and then either expect price to roll back over again or maybe even break through it. But I do think price could be on its way to go and test that 1.3 level. Of course, we still need to get above this Friday level there. See on the Friday time frame, still need to get above this level, but if we do, we can start to see a bit more of a bullish trend for this one, and probably see price maybe get back to that 1.3 level there. So I expect and probably use the CAD to keep on moving to the upside for next week, unless we take out this prior low here. But as long as we stay above it, probably expect another push to the upside for USD CAD. Up next is Euro GBP. Okay, so for Euro GBP, we saw movement to the downside this week. I was saying last week, we probably do expect a movement to the downside as long as price stays below this previous swing high there. See it better on the 4-hourly chart. So again, price was making those lower lows and those swing highs. Had another push to the upside, retesting that area of resistance, and we saw a move to the downside back to the lows here. And you can see really key level in the market. And I was saying potentially going to be expecting price to hold at this level. As you can see, price support there, price support there, support there, really key level of support there on the daily and weekly time frame. We jump to the weekly as well, you can see acting as support there on the weekly. So really key level, but I do expect to see price eventually break through this level, because we tested it numerous times now and price is really struggling to move away from this level. So probably expect price to eventually break through it, but for now, again, since we've seen a very big move to the downside, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 consecutive bearish candles, you do expect to see some retracement, and at this strong level we could easily see price retrace to the upside and go and test some prior support levels now as resistance. So as you can see here, if I jump to the 4-hourly chart, really key level of support all across here. You can see a test there, second test there, could easily see another push to the upside for next week to go and test this area as resistance now, then maybe see price come back again and maybe range a little bit. But I do expect price to eventually break to the downside and break through this support for Euro GBP. But again, really strong area of support there, so don't really want to be selling into it. But for now, I probably expect price to retrace a little bit, give us a move to the upside, maybe to that 0.9500 level. As you can see, price support there, and probably expect price to eventually go and break through this and probably start to give us a bit more of a bearish trend for Euro GBP. But for now, as long as we hold that level, give us a move to the upside, and maybe see price leak to the downside again. Okay, so up next we've got AUD USD. Okay, so for AUD USD this week, not too much happened from a daily point of view. As you can see, it looks like price is just consolidating a little bit. We've got bullish candles there, we've got bearish candles there. There's no real movement to the upside or to the downside from a daily point of view. We still do have this key level of prior resistance and support here in the market, and this is the key level that we need to break through on the daily time frame to start to see a bit more of a bearish trend for this pair, to potentially see some lower lows and some lower highs. But yeah, from a daily point of view, it just looks like we're consolidating a little bit. For hourly, it looks like we're failing to make some higher highs, so it is showing signs that we could be in for a move to the downside. As you can see here, this is our price swing high. Price tried to make some new highs there, but failed to do so and just rolled over to the downside. So we are starting to look a little bit bearish here from a 4-hourly point of view. But again, this is the key level we still need to take out for us to really start to see some bearish movement for AD USD. But it does look like price is struggling to move higher. And if you see a break of this next week, I do expect price to continue to the downside to go and test the 0.74 level. As you can see, prior resistance there will be 10 support. And you can see from a weekly point of view, this was the resistance on the weekly that gave us that move to the downside. We didn't really get a retest of it. Price just rallied to the upside there. So we could be seeing that retest from a weekly point of view to go and retest that as support now. Prior resistance turns support. So we could be seeing that move to the downside from a weekly point of view, and daily just consolidating there. So this is the key level for me that we need to break through, get close below, hold underneath that level, and then from there we'll expect price to go to that 0.74 level, take out that swing high there, probably expect price to continue that bullish move and carry on creating those higher highs there. But from a Friday point of view, looks like we're failing to create some higher highs there, so probably gonna be expecting that momentum, that bearish momentum to continue to go and test this support. And if we break through it and we get close on the daily below that, again, probably expecting that momentum to continue to the downside and probably eventually get a test of that 0.74 level. Now let's take a look at NZD CAD. Okay, so for NZD CAD, we're starting to look very bearish now for this pair. If I jump to the weekly, you can see where we're getting rejected from here on the weekly chart. This was our prior swing high for the weekly. As you can see, get that bearish trend. This was our prior swing high, made a new swing low, and again you can see a very strong level of resistance sent us all the way to the downside here, and you can see we're starting to reject that area quite well on the weekly. You can see we've got that bearish engulfing candle there as well, so we're looking very bearish from a weekly point of view, and potentially could see another bearish week to the downside as well. So we could be seeing a bearish week for next week. Daily, you can see very strong push to the downside. We broke through this key level here of prior resistance turn support. So get rid of that level above there from a daily point of view. So again, you can see daily here, prior resistance there, it gave us a really strong move to the downside. We trickled back above that at the support there as well, gave us a move to the upside. But as you can see on Wednesday, we got a strong close below that area. We held there on Thursday and Friday. You can see that momentum continued to take us to the downside. So I did say last week, as long as we get a close below this level, we'll probably expect price to look a lot bearish from then on, and probably see it move to the downside, go and test this 0.90500 level. We haven't quite got there yet. As you can see, prior resistance support there as well. Probably see a little better on the 4-hourly chart. So again, prior resistance here, support there as well. We're coming into that area, and I do expect further downside movement for NZD CAD. Could start to see some retracement now, but I do think if you can break through that 0.90500 level, we're probably going to come and test this low here for daily chart, and if we break through that, then we could be seeing a move to 0.9. So again, resistance there, send us to the downside. We'll be getting a test of that as support now. So we got some strong levels. Price has got to face for next week for NZD CAD, but I do expect us to see a bit more of a bearish trend now for this pair, unless we get back above this area of resistance now. As you can see, support there will be acting as resistance. So if we get back above this level, this leg was just some retrace, and probably expect to see price create some higher highs after that. But stay below it, expecting a bit more of a bearish trend for NZD CAD, take out this level, probably come to there, take out this level, probably come to there. So again, we've got some targets for NZD CAD, and I do expect further downside movement for next week for this pair. Next up, we've got GBP NZD. Okay, so for GBP/NZD on the daily chart, we saw a big move to the upside this week. I was probably expecting price to roll over to the downside again this week, and you can see we had a breakout of this level on the 4-hourly chart. So I was expecting maybe price to hold here as resistance and see price roll over back to the downside, continuing that bearish trend that we've been having on the daily chart. But as you can see, price just broke straight through it, and we're starting to look quite bullish now for GBP/NZD. You can see we failed to make a lower low there in the market. We saw a big push to the downside, making those lows back up again, bit of consolidation, broke to the downside, but failed to make those lower lows. So we could be seeing another push higher for GBP/NZD for next week. Probably expect to see some retracement though, because again, really key level of support, now term resistance. As you can see, support all across here, now term resistance, so really key level resistance. Probably expect price to fall to the downside because of that level. to go probably retrace this movement we've had as well here. A big push to the upside, expect to see some retracement, so probably could be seeing some retracement, but eventually expect to see price go and eventually break through this resistance here and probably start to see a bigger push to the upside for this pair. And you can see we've tested this level multiple times and price has been rejected multiple times, so probably going to see some rejection to start the week off maybe, but because we've tested it so many times, the price is failing to really move away. It's showing that price wants to go and break this level. If price was going to hold at this level, it should take off to the downside and not really come back to retest it again. So the fact that we've come to retest it again after testing it for numerous times shows that price really wants to go and break this level. So I'm expecting a break of this level and probably see a bigger push to the upside for this pair. But again, probably going to see some retrace first because we did see quite a big push to the upside for GPNZD. So probably expect price to fall to the downside a little bit, but eventually go and break through this resistance and probably see a bit more of a counter trend move for GPNZD.
Next, we're going to move on to CAD JPY.
Okay, so for CAD JPY on the daily chart, I was expecting to see price maybe break to the upside for this pair. We do have a really key level of resistance here in the market. So again, really strong resistance there, acted as resistance there again, sent us to the downside. And I was saying this week, I probably expect price to go and break to the upside and probably see a longer swing to the upside and carry on this bit of a bullish trend that we're having here on CAD JPY. We did get a close above that area of resistance, but as you can see, we didn't sustain it and price came all the way back down with Friday's candle. So it's starting to look a little bit bearish here. You can see we do have a bit of a key level here of support that price is failing to break through. As you can see, if I jump to the 4 hourly, actually, again, you can see really nice area of support, bit of a false breakout there, but price is holding this area as support there. So for CAD JPY, we do have a bit of a trend line here as well in the market, and we mustn't forget we're also in this range as well. So again, we've got our resistance up there and we do have our support along here, so bit of a range. So if you do break through this trend line here for CAD JPY, sorry, if you do break through this trend line for CAD JPY, I'll probably expect to see a bit more of a bearish trend now for this pair and us to slowly get our way all the way down to the lows here and just carry on that range between that resistance and that support on the daily time frame. If we hold the trend line and break back above this resistance, again, we'll probably start to see some higher highs and a breakout to the upside for this pair. But again, for me, this is like the key trend line telling me which way price could potentially go. As long as we hold that, we could potentially either see price give us another move to the upside and actually have a breakout to the upside. But if we do see a break of this trend line, my bias will probably change at that point and probably look very bearish then, and probably see more of a trend to the downside there, back to the lows here, and maybe even see a breakout to the downside. But for CAD JPY, you can see the price action we're getting there on the daily, very strong engulfing candle there. Could easily see that momentum take us to the downside, get a daily close below this trend line and price holds, could easily start to see a new bearish trend here and come back all the way to the lows around 78 as well. But if you do hold that support and price just continues to the upside, respect the trend line, probably see a breakout and maybe a test of 83 up there. So do have targets to either side, but again, if you see price continue to the downside, break through this trend line, I'll probably expect to see price continue to the downside for CAD JPY to the lows here for next week.
Up next is GBP USD.
Okay, so for GBP USD on the daily chart, you can see we're still kind of keeping up with this bullish trend here on the daily chart, but we are failing to create some higher highs now. You can see this is our prior resistance and it's the downside, but pullback, another push to the upside down the daily. If I jump to the 4 hourly, probably a bit clearer. So again, you can see that was a price swing high, push to the downside, push back up again. Now we're failing to create some new highs there. So for now, for GBP/USD, we are looking very bullish, very bearish here, sorry, and probably going to be expecting that price to continue to the downside though. We do have a little bit of a range here, again, support there as well. We'll be acting as support if price was to come and test that area as well. So a little bit of a range for GBP/USD, break through the highs, probably expect another push to the upside, create some higher highs, break through that support, probably expect to see a bit more of a counter trend move for this pair. On the daily time frame, again, still got this trend line keeping us in that trend to the upside. So again, if I connect the lows there of price, so again, initial test here, second test, third, fourth, didn't quite get test there. So we could be seeing that fifth test now for GBP/USD. Of course, we need to break through this level of support there that I was talking about on the 4 hourly time frame. So if you get a close below this level, hold, probably expect price to come and test that daily trend line there again, and then you see a bounce or maybe a break of that trend line. Depends how the price action is looking when we get there. But for now, you see they do have that very strong engulfing candle there for GBP/USD. Expect that momentum to take us to the downside to go and test the lows of that range for GBPUSD, but for now we're kind of just stuck in between that resistance and that support, and as long as we hold, we could see GBPUSD start to range maybe, but break to the upside, probably expect that trend to continue and go see some new highs, break through that resistance, expect to see a test of that trend line for GBPUSD.
And last we've got GBP CAD.
Okay, so for GBP CAD this week, we saw a move to the upside. I was saying that potentially we'll see a move to the upside for GBP CAD after this move to the downside that we had last week. And as you can see, we did see that strong move to the upside. But for GBP CAD, it's quite hard to work out from a daily point of view where we could be going for this pair. As you can see, the price action is very choppy right now. We are still holding this support area all across here. So again, really strong support area, test it once, twice, third, fourth time, getting rejected from this area. So we could be seeing a push to the upside for GBP CAD. I think another move to the upside, because again, you can see if I jump to the 4-hourly chart, we do have this previous resistance all across here, turn support, and you can see we are looking like we're holding that area. So if we do hold that area up there on the 4-hourly chart, could see another push to the upside and maybe start seeing price creating some higher highs in this market, because again, this whole move is quite sideways here. Got the resistance up here, and we've got the support just below. So again, price is very choppy with GBP CAD, especially there on the daily chart. 4-hourly can make it out a little bit better, probably see another move to the upside to go and really test that resistance, but from a daily point of view, it's very choppy here, and we do have a key level of resistance all across here, around 1.745. If break through that area, we could be seeing a bit more of a breakout to the upside, able to go and test this key level here around 1.78, this wick all the way up here. If you see a breakout, could be seeing a bigger move to the upside to go and test that area, but for now, probably expecting another push to the upside for GBP CAD. And if you stay below that area, again, price is probably going to fall to the downside again for GBP CAD. But if you do see price remain bearish for GBP CAD for next week, and we take up this low here, you could be seeing a longer swing to the downside to go and test that support area I was talking about earlier. Key level of support here, take out that level, start to look quite bearish at that point. Price is really getting rejected from that area, and probably expect to see a trend to go and test this area again for a 5th time, and then probably have to judge price action again, whether we're going to break it or see a bounce. But for GBP CAD, very unclear price action on the daily, but from a 4-hourly point of view, it looks like we could be seeing a move to the upside for GBP CAD for next week. Break through this low though, and we remain bearish, probably see that longer move to the downside to go and test that daily support. But for now, probably going to be expecting another push to the upside for GBP CAD. Okay, so that's the end of the video. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you agree or disagree or just have any questions, make sure you leave a comment and I'll get back to you. But that is the end of the video. I hope you all enjoyed it, and until the next one, I'll see you later.